Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Healthy AF podcast. With me is Meghann Hempel. Meghann is a retired firefighter and health coach specializing in food addiction, weight loss, and metabolic health, using her own struggle with and recovery from disordered eating to help others heal. So Meghann, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. We've known each other a while. We haven't done this yet. So this is going to be fun to have a real conversation, hear a little more about your journey and then where you are now and how you're helping people. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with where kind of like how you got here. Cause I mean, from what I understand of your story, I mean, you've been a big advocate for people with food addiction for many, many years. And that seems to be where your specialty lies with people with, again, disordered eating, food addiction. So I think this is a personal journey for you, from what I understand.
Yeah. So I struggled with disordered eating, honestly, probably all the way back from age 9. And then found the gym around 16 years old, became basically a fitness junkie. And at the time, I didn't realize that my tendencies in the gym were also disordered. And that I actually had bulimic behaviors with the gym. In that moment in time, I was not, making myself throw up, but I was purging through exercise. So I would eat ridiculous amounts of food, and then I was a slave to the gym. Oh, got to get to the gym. And I would just spend hours on the treadmill, on the elliptical. That was before I started to get into lifting, but I was a cardio bunny. Just, long story short, throughout the years, bulimia, my food addiction, which I didn't even realize really that I was dealing with a food addiction at the time. And then when I came across food addiction, all of the light bulbs came off or went off. And I found food addiction through the ketogenic space. And so, I mean, I got to a place, I want to say around age 30. My parents were living the ketogenic lifestyle, saw amazing results with it. And I was so sick, Zane. Like, I got to a place where there was a day. It was my aha moment of like, okay, something's got to change. I was in the bathroom countless times. I had literally lost count of how many times I had binged and purged, binged and purged, binged and purged in one day. And I remember standing in my bathroom, literally, my world is spinning, my heart is beating out of my chest. And it was just like, I don't know if it was God talking to me, but it was like, Meghann, if you don't turn your life around right now, you're going to die. You're going to die. And I had also felt like a total fraud because I was in the health space at the time. I wasn't doing the one-on-one coaching that I'm doing right now, but I was in the health space. And I was that girl that was preaching, eat everything in moderation, live that balanced lifestyle, all about health. But here I was so far away from health. And that's the moment that I knew I had to get help, because if things didn't change, it was going to be bad. So back to my parents, they had been living the ketogenic lifestyle, and they had seen a food addiction program, and they were like, you should just try this. And I was so open to anything and everything that I enrolled myself in the course. And that was the game changer for me in terms of overcoming my food addiction and bulimia. So I have been clean, set free from food addiction and bulimia for the last 6 years. And keto and carnivore was one of the tools that got me to where I am today.
Gotcha. Okay. And were you a firefighter at that time as well?
Yeah. So I was, funny, right when I was getting clean from food addiction and bulimia, I had just started my career in the fire service. So I had been in school and just also working in the fire service part-time. And then 2 months, I was probably 2 months clean at the time with bulimia and food addiction, in the fire service, and then had my traumatic brain injury. So that's why I coach full time now, because I'm no longer in the fire service. But yeah, they were kind of both happened around the same time.
Gotcha. And was a ketogenic diet in your framework, in your goal setting, Was that was that part of how you dealt with the traumatic brain injury as well?
Yeah. So, yes, it was. And but there's now that I look back, there's so many. I got hit with a lot of different things in a small time period. So, like, went keto, and then had my traumatic brain injury, and then, a few years after that, got sick with mold illness. So there was, like,
Mm,
so many different, like, moving pieces on, like, how I was feeling, but I was so in terms of disordered eating and food addiction, keto was probably the one thing that kept me. It was very, regimented. So
mm,
I was able to shut off a lot of food noise, or maybe, I was able to not act on old behaviors that were destructive during those difficult times, if that makes sense.
sure. Sure. So it helped you kind of maintain some food control, some boundaries, some healthy boundaries away from food that
Absolutely.
you used to abuse.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So it's like a kind of a separation kind of a
It
situation
was I
or
think it was
habit.
something that, allowed me to feel in control of my
Hmm.
life while
Hmm.
everything else was so out of control, if that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Yeah. And created some discipline around food. And so
Correct.
had you adjusted your exercise routine at this point?
Yeah, so, before my head injury, before going, keto, I would have said that I was, I said I was a fitness junkie. I was your crazy CrossFitter. I was, go, 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 go all of the time. And then when my head injury happened, I felt like I had lost my entire identity. Like, I
Mm,
because I couldn't work out, because, I mean, doing an air squat, I
right.
would get sick and wanna throw up. That also allowed me to kinda take a step back and say, "Okay, well, you overcame your food addiction, but you also had a really disordered behaviors with exercise." So I was actually really forced to kinda look at my relationship with fitness, right? Because I think I'm a huge advocate for exercise, but I think a lot of gym junkies, um, and when I know one, many of us can also have disordered behaviors in
Right.
the gym. So yeah, no, I wasn't able to really work out for a while. So I feel like I was able to kind of actually, I kind of created a new identity for myself during the healing journey. And I mean, I personally like me now way better than the old me.
Good. That's a good place to be. Yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, it was boreal. I mean, and it was part of your journey of healing. It's like, well, what can I do to help me overcome this? And this was your tool in that
Yes.
in that time. And how long how long have you been on a keto or carnivore diet at this point now? We're talking like 8 years, nine
Yeah.
years? What are we
Okay.
talking?
So I started in 2019. It's now 2025.
Okay.
And I would say about like 6 years.
six
So
years. Yeah.
I would say throughout that time, I would kind of bounce back between keto, carnivore, low carb. I would say, like, the last couple of years, my energy just was terrible. I thought that my energy was terrible because I also had autoimmune issues going on and mold illness going on. So I also think that now I look back, I'm like, okay, was it the diet or was it my autoimmune stuff? Am I still recovering from my head injury? Right.
Right.
So there, like I said, so many moving pieces. But back in the January that we just had, 2025.
Right.
So typically every January, I like to do like 90 days of strict carnivore. And just kind of like, I don't know, a reset, even though I'm not really resetting anything because I eat very clean all of the time. But I was like, that's just typically what I do. But January came, and when I do something, I have to feel very aligned with it. Like, I really
Sure.
don't like doing things that Meghann doesn't want to do. Like, there's a time and a place we all have to do things we don't want to do. But like this time, it's just like my body was just like, the thought of having a steak that typically I love, like I like my body was like, "Bleh," like just total gag. Like I couldn't even think of it. And I'm like, you want to do this for 90 days, you know? So my body, and that was like, I'm very intuitive. And so I looked at that as like, maybe my body really doesn't want this anymore. But I was also, I think I was kind of a little bit in a denial too. Like, no, this is what you do. This is how you eat. And so with that being said, up until this August, because there was, I mean, even this summer, I would say like, or in the spring, I did like a month or so of strict carnivore. And I'm like, oh, it minimizes my food noise. Like it's so more simpler. Like it's easy. And let's be real, it is pretty freaking easy, which is a great, it is. But
It is.
I was just like, I knew my body needed more. Like I knew things needed to change. So I'm kind of in a new
Sure.
chapter right now.
Okay. So other than the low energy and the initial repulsion to the idea of eating nothing but meat for 3 months, were there any other symptoms or anything else you noticed that were kind of throwing you off, or maybe you thought it doesn't seem right?
Yeah. Yeah. Once again, I think there was a lot of denial in this.
Okay.
And I look at this as, once again, I had a lot of moving pieces, and I thought for a long time it was the mold illness that I was dealing with. But I really do think a lot of it was from being almost zero carb for too long. So those symptoms, my thyroid, trash, testosterone, trash,
So you're
hair
seeing this in
loss.
labs.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I had,
Okay.
my hair had been thinning for a while. It's actually this last year though, it's coming back, thank God. Not like I look bald, but like I could notice, you know?
Right, right. Your hair's thinning. I've heard this
Yeah.
before. Yeah, the hair thins. Yeah.
Um, Not feeling like myself, like at all.
Mhm.
Like I have literally, I mean, I show up every day as if nothing is bothering me, but like I know when I'm off. And I feel like the last year I have been really struggling with just feeling like Meghann. The weight just kept creeping on. And I am probably the most psycho person I know when it comes to my health. So like I do all of the things. I'm very regimented in my workouts.
Yeah.
I eat the way that I was supposed to, like, that I think I'm supposed to eat. And so the weight just like kept slowly creeping on. And first of all, when you are a health and fitness coach and you need to be a walking billboard for your company and
Yeah.
you don't feel good or you look good, it affects literally all areas of your life. Like it takes a really mental toll. So here I am, the weight is slowly creeping on. And like maybe most people couldn't notice it, but like I can, and could not lose weight for the life of me. So
Mm.
basically, I manipulated macros, higher fat, higher protein, lower fat, higher protein, like, carnivore harder, right? Like I
Yeah.
did it. Okay. I freaking
Gotcha.
did it. And so, yeah, weight gain I mean, I couldn't lose weight. Like I couldn't even lose a pound a month. And one of the things that really crushed me was I am typically somebody who loves working out, like
Mhm.
in a healthy way now. I'm not, workup
Sure.
obsessed like I used to be, but I like my 1 hour of, fitness. Like that's my
Mhm.
time. That's my sanctuary. And every workout for, I would say, the last probably year, probably up until August, like mentally, I had to force myself. Like
Mhm.
I would get to the gym. I kid you not. I would put my timer on for 30 minutes and just say, okay, just move for 30 minutes, get whatever workout in that you can. At least you showed up and you did something. But it
Mhm.
took every piece of me to just show up and do it. And so I knew things had to change.
That's your body responding to the low energy availability and they have low energy. So you had energy you were storing as fat. You didn't have energy. You didn't have as much energy being created as it turned into ATP, which is your real cellular energy that the muscles use. And your body's like, why do we want to do extra? We're already like, we feel like we're starving. And that's
Yeah.
why we're storing fat instead of creating energy to use. And downregulating your thyroid. And it had low energy, and it was telling you, don't do extra.
Yeah.
We don't need to do extra. And I've
And
seen your workouts, just so everybody, I've seen her videos she's posted. She's repping out pull-ups. She's got a lot of muscle on her, very strong. There's no, she's not doing anything wrong with her workouts to have put on that much muscle. She's not overtraining to put on that much muscle. She does strength training, plenty of strength training. You weren't doing anything wrong with your workouts. It's pretty clear at this point, it was your diet.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I forgot to add, I can't remember. It was probably well over a year and a half ago, just because I get, well, not so much quarterly anymore, but I was getting tests done regularly for my autoimmune stuff. And I had a panel come back showing that my liver and my kidney function was not looking good either.
Really high liver numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that really scared me. But once again, I blamed it. I don't want to say I blamed it. I just looked at that as, oh, that's SIRS, because that's what I was diagnosed with, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So I didn't say in that moment in time, I didn't look at it as maybe the way that I was eating. I was like, oh, it's SIRS. But now I look back and I wonder, did I pull the trigger on my autoimmune issues? Did I pull the trigger on chronic inflammatory response syndrome because my body was such in a chronic state of stress? Did I do that to myself because of eating zero carb for too long?
And I think there's a very public figure right now who I have a great deal of respect for, who is struggling with what is being diagnosed as SIRS, who's also been carnivore for a very long time and is very open about it. And the first thing I thought of when I saw the news about him was he needs to eat some food. He needs to eat a broader diversity, a broader variety of food. Not that this is the only problem, but if there's an underlying problem, it's not helping to deprive the body of needed glucose rather than require it to make it itself, which would elevate the stress hormones. If you have some element of SIRS or autoimmune going on with your stress, you already have elevated stress hormones. We don't need to create you should follow a diet that doubles down on that, creates the same response in the body, which is elevated stress hormones. So it sounds like, yeah, you'd hit your wall. And I remember without help, you hit your wall.
Because like I said, there was also the brain injury before that too. So like there was so many moving pieces, but
variables. You didn't know what to,
like what was the problem. But I will say this, I've been slowly because once again, I am in the food addiction space. And for a long time, first of all, I do want to say, if I have ever misled anybody, I apologize, because I'm just, as coaches, we learn, we grow, we evolve. If you're not continuously learning, then you probably shouldn't be doing your job, right? We're always learning. We should always be learning, right? And so, like I said, keto and carnivore worked for me for a moment in time. But my hope is that everything that I learned from my own personal journey is that I don't want anyone to go through what I'm going through right now, which when I say what I'm going through right now is I'm restoring my adrenals. I am restoring my hormones right now. I feel so much better. I feel so much better, but I still have some healing to do. And I don't think necessarily keto and carnivore, 6 years or very long term is potentially healthy, especially when you're a female. Especially, we have so many more hormones than men. And like I said, I think carnivore, keto, low carb can be wonderful tools. I think it's a tool in the toolbox, but I don't think it's a life sentence. I don't think it's a religion. And I think that we have to be willing to, stop at looking at what everyone else is doing, what everyone else is eating, and really look at yourself and look within and say, how do I feel right now? How do I feel? Is what I'm doing working for me? Because if you're doing the same thing over and over again and you're not getting results, it's because you need to be doing something different.
Yeah. The body is telling you it's time. I think we've done all we can with what you're giving us. So you made a change then, it sounds like, in your diet. You made some adjustments. Could you kind of help us understand what those are and then what
Yes.
kind of results you saw
Yeah.
from
So,
that change?
because I do want to talk about a little bit about food addiction,
Hmm.
because I know for me and what I have taught for many years is, once again, I think keto and carnivore are wonderful tools for minimizing food noise and making your life more peaceful. But I think through my own learning and my own journey, the ultimate goal should be to be able to reintroduce whole foods, healthy foods. I'm not saying let's go get back into the Doritos and the Cheetos and the Oreo cookies. I'm saying,
Right.
get to a place where you are so confident in yourself that, okay, if I want to have some fruit, I can have some fruit without going on a binge. Or if I want to have a sweet potato or some squash, I can do that. And I'm not going to go on a binge or go down, go eat the entire kitchen. Right.
Right.
So my diet, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. Now, I would say I'm higher carb, lower fat right now, and all of my whole foods come from fruits and vegetables. I don't right now. I'm not doing grains. I don't really have any desire to bring them back in.
Mhm.
But yeah, so fruits and veggies.
Great. Gotcha. So that would include starchier veggies
Yes,
as well, I
a lot of
assume.
sweet potato, a lot of sweet
Yeah.
potato or squash. Yeah.
Great. And so what have you noticed in making this change? How long have you been doing that since you said August?
Um, yeah, August, but for the last so I've been slowly bringing stuff back in on and off for
Gotcha.
August because I feel like for me, I was scared. I was so scared, Zane, because when you have worked so hard to overcome bulimia and food addiction and you get into like a safe place, right? And you're like, I'm good, there can be it was very scary because there were so many what ifs. And I will say in my past, I have tried bringing back in I wasn't even eating like berries for a long time because it
Mhm.
would just like kind of wake up food noise I didn't want to deal with. So I mean, like I've been on this journey for like 6 years. I would try to bring some stuff in and then it got too scary for me. But when I noticed my body really like screaming for help, that's when I realized, okay, Meg, like you got to face these fears and work through them. So I did it very slowly. August is when I was like, I'm really done with like ketogenic.
Mm. Done
And
with ketogenic. Done
yeah,
with ketogenic.
so
Okay.
I will say this, I ran my first half marathon.
Oh, wow.
First half marathon in over like the last decade, a month ago. And I will tell you this, there is no way in hell I could have run that. I had 6 weeks to train for it. And I did great. And there's no
Great.
way I could have done that zero carb. There's not. So like
Mhm.
I know that there's a lot of keto carnivore athletes out there. And hey, if you can function and do that, like all the power to you. I'm not her. Like I can't do that. And I ran great. I felt great. And the fact that I was able to run that at a decent pace with 6 weeks to train, I'm like, all right,
Yeah, that's pretty short.
carbs aren't that bad.
No, I mean, yeah, exactly. Their energy.
Yeah.
That's amazing. 6 weeks to train for the half. That's yeah, definitely ambitious for sure. Wow, good job. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
So, what other have you noticed anything with any metrics in your health markers
Yes.
adjusting? And
Okay.
are you feeling better thyroid wise? Yeah.
Yes. So I will say this, as mentioned earlier, I could not lose weight like at all. And mentally, I'm sorry, call me vain. I like to look good. Like I do. And if I don't look good, it really does. Whatever. Maybe it's shallow, but it's like if I don't look good, I don't feel good. And if I don't feel good, like it's just like, it's not good.
Okay. Yeah. I think most people adjust their diet to drop weight because they realize that consistently gaining weight is a symptom of something not working properly. So I wouldn't attribute that to vanity. It's more of like there's a symptom here that it was not part of my plan, and it's not going the direction I thought it would. So I wouldn't attribute that to vanity. I'd say that's a symptom of something
And
not
yes,
happening
I
correctly
don't
in your
care.
body. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, like carnivore, keto, did all those weird macros for, different ratios and nothing was happening. And then as I slowly bumped up carbs and dropped my fat, like my like the scale is moving. Like it's
Wow.
almost it's
Awesome.
magical. Like I'm like, oh
Wow.
my gosh, like are you kidding me? Like I couldn't have
Wow.
figured this out sooner. So that's really exciting. I haven't gotten retested for my thyroid, but
Okay.
I have been very energetic lately,
Cool.
like haven't been able to shut my brain off. And so I actually don't do this at home. But like I actually think that maybe because I had to take thyroid medication and I think I am getting retested again pretty soon here, but I actually I'm slowly weaning myself off because I think the dose that I'm on right now might be too high
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm actually healing myself.
Hmm.
So it'll be really interesting to see what those markers are. But like I'd say the biggest things that changes that I've noticed since August, because August is when I really started to bump carbs
Hmm.
up. Energy has been amazing. My circadian rhythm is much better too. Like I wake up in the morning and I don't drag out of bed. I also, well, my hair is looking much better. That's for sure. But I would say, yeah, energy. And then my workouts. Oh my God, my workouts. I can literally I look forward to my workout every morning. Like I get excited. Like when I go to bed at night, I kid you not, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be doing this tomorrow at the gym. Like I feel like I'm kind of a new person because I'm not
That's awesome.
dying anymore. I don't feel like I'm dying anymore.
Right. Yeah. It's not a struggle to get up and get moving and do the things you want to do. That's awesome. That's
And you
fantastic.
know what, Zane? I feel like I have reached a whole different level of, and I know it sounds so cheesy, but from somebody who was bulimic and struggled with, food addiction, I haven't really felt this kind of sense of food freedom in a really long time. Like I had my own version of food freedom when I was carnivore and keto, but now it's like every time I have a fruit, it's like
Mm.
kind of a really, I know this sounds terrible, but it's like a really special moment. Like I had a pear for the first time the other day. I had a peach for the first time the other day. Like I'm having, bringing in new things that I haven't had in years.
Mm.
And like I called my sister the other day and I'm like, you're not going to believe it. I had a banana. Like things that are perfectly healthy that I'm bringing back into my life and I feel so good about them. It's not bringing me back to a dark place of, disordered behaviors. It's just like, I have it. I nourish my body. I get on with the day and that's it.
Have you noticed any changes in blood sugar? Because I think the big question is, well, what
Oh,
happened to your blood sugar? Did it go through the roof? Are
oh,
you getting crazy spikes? Are you
oh,
glycating 24/7 and turning into a diabetic with these
yeah. So
newly
the last
added
couple
fruits?
of days, just because of stress, I mean, it's been like high 80s and 90s. But when I'm not
Okay.
super stressed out, okay, my blood sugar is amazing. So like 70s, like I'll wake up
That's
and it's
amazing.
like 72.
Now, was it creeping up? There's a lot of people who are carnivore and keto who are noticing their blood sugars their fasting glucose is creeping up in the morning. Some of them even seeing high A1Cs, which of course is a picture of a 3 to 4 month window
Yeah.
there. Did you have any issues with elevated blood sugar on keto or carnivore?
Not really, but I will say, because I did have a CGM. I'll go through periods where I'll wear a CGM, and there was a time when within the last year, I would say like a regular morning for me was in the 80s. So that's still
Okay.
healthy, but
It is.
it
Yeah.
but 70s is better.
Well, I think it's the symptoms can show at different times for different people, but I think where you started noticing your symptoms was in the thyroid and low energy,
Yeah.
which is still, I think down that what would happen eventually is your body will start compensating for that at some point with elevated blood sugars. Like that's what I've seen
Yeah.
happen often. Like you and I both know Lisa Wiedemann, and she's talked about how her blood sugar was creeping up and was actually very high. It was in the 120, 130 range with a high A1C on strict carnivore for 16
Yeah.
years. Um, and so it just depends on how it shows up. But she didn't see anything in like her thyroid numbers, but she was gaining weight. And so
Yeah.
I think where these symptoms, how they reveal themselves may vary a bit, but you can tie them all back to a similar root cause, which is there's stress hormones compensating for the lack of glucose, which are then causing the body to try to adapt in some way to the lack of glucose and having to make the glucose. And for some people, it's making a lot more of it. And for others, it's like, let's downregulate your energy so you don't need as much of it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what you sound like what you're experiencing, especially with hair loss, all textbook symptoms
Yeah.
of low thyroid that we see even in young athletes who are trying to make weight. You have hair loss, you have a lack of energy, there's just a lethargy, there's a disrupted sleep. I mean, there's all these things, brain fog. I mean, just all of these symptoms that are pretty textbook with when they look at athletes who are on like either low carb or low calorie diets trying to make weight for their sport.
Yeah.
But then I'm seeing them more and more with people who are adults who are in a career, right? But they're using diet, they're either over dieting, over exercising, or both, and they're having these same symptoms, these low energy availability or relative energy deficiency in sports, what they're called. And they're showing up in people in their 30s and 40s, 50s, because even though they're not playing sports, they have stress in their lives. They have stress of raising kids and having a career and working out and trying to be healthy, trying to have a healthy career, right? Where they're productive, as well as maintaining their health through that stress. That's a level of stress that requires energy. It requires proper rest and recovery. And many times the answer is to diet hard, like you said, hit it with a hammer, like diet harder, work out harder. And we think that's the answer and it's almost like fitness and health has become, there's an element of it where we think we have to punish ourselves, where we have to inflict further stress in order to maintain health. And I'm happy to see that this mindset is changing, or this idea is being confronted with what's on the other side of that. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're experiencing, was what's on the other side of this kind of punishment in order to maintain some level of idea of health. And now you're on a new recovery, it sounds like,
Yeah.
of how to address your own health.
Well, and I think too, like, as we age, we have to
Oh, yeah.
understand that just because something may worked at one time in our life doesn't necessarily mean it's going to continue to work, right?
Oh, yeah.
And especially like, middle age, if you are, working out vigorously all the time, you're under eating all the time. It's like, okay, you know, you got to change the plan. And I'm a very big advocate for less is more. Like, I'm learning that for me, especially when if you do live a high stress life, right? Like,
Mhm.
I kid you not, doing more can actually cause more inflammation, can make it that much more difficult to get the weight off. And if you actually just kind of lean in to taking a step back, doing less and nourishing your body properly, the weight actually comes off. Like, that's what I'm noticing for me. Now, when I say less is more, I'm not saying sit on your rear end and do nothing by any means. I'm just saying, like, maybe you need to change your training regimen and maybe not be CrossFitting 5 times a week, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I experienced the same thing as I got older. I realized my routine was not serving me. It probably wasn't serving me when I was younger. It's just I was able to overcome it because of the advantages of youth hormonally.
Yeah.
And then as I got my late 40s, that's when I started feeling sick. So I know exactly what you're saying. But even though you could do it back then, doesn't mean you should.
Right.
And just even if you could, yeah.
And it's not even necessary. It's not necessary.
No, it's not beneficial at all.
Yeah.
It's not beneficial or necessary to get where you want to go. So you've been experiencing these problems. You said, really, I mean, feeling that repulsion to meat since the beginning of the year, low energy for a while. Obviously, this has been forming. Did you tell anyone about this? Did you talk to anyone in the keto or carnivore community about these symptoms? And if so, what was their suggestions? What they tell you?
Yeah, well, so believe it or not, my mother, who has been doing what I've been doing, we've been doing it for the same amount of time. And she has and was experiencing the same exact things as me.
Mm,
And she's also doing what I'm doing now and is feeling amazing. So there's that. But I have talked to a few people in the carnivore space, pretty big deal people. And I don't want to say big deal, but
I know what you mean.
people who are pretty
A lot of
large in
influence.
business. Yeah.
Yeah.
And struggle with weight loss, fatigue. So I know that I'm not the only one who has felt this way. But I think for me, I will say this. I am not my diet. Even when I was keto or carnivore, I didn't even like identifying myself as like, oh, I'm keto, I'm carnivore. Like, I'm sorry. I think it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Like, I don't want to be part of any cult of any kind, or like just because I eat a certain way doesn't mean that's like my identity. Like, I don't want to be part of that. But I will say, like, there was definitely, because I have coached keto, low carb for so long, there was this part of me of, I was very scared to make the shift. However, I am somebody who is extremely honest, and I will always do what feels right for me. And I'll talk about it. Like, I'm an open book. And to be quite frank, I don't really care if you don't like me. So, like, being honest about certain topics, like, it is what it is. But I think that there are people in, low carb, ketogenic, carnivore space who have been doing it for a very long time and aren't feeling amazing anymore. But everybody has to come to that place where, because I think some people worship their diets. I think some people are so set on their diet that they aren't willing to actually be like, could it be the diet that is doing this for me? And there has been times throughout, these last few years of me questioning it. And I'll be real with you. I think I've been in denial. I think I was in denial, right? There was that fear, that like the denial of like, oh, could like me eating this way for as long as I have really be hurting me? How stupid could I be? Right? Like all of those thoughts. And I don't want to say I was stupid. I was just learning, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that was me going on.
I get it. I recommended it for people for over 20 years until I hit my wall and had to reevaluate. And it's not an easy thing. You got to get your ego out of the way. And,
and I don't
especially when you're a coach.
Yeah, and I don't want to like, what word am I looking for? Downplay or, not say that keto or carnivore or low carb is garbage, because I don't think it is at all. In fact, I will use it. I still use it as a tool, but I don't think it doesn't have to be a forever thing. And like I'm saying,
so don't anyone project my
views
views and Megan's views. We're in different places in our journey. And so if anyone's heard my stuff online, don't project that on Meghann. That's what I use. I'm in a clear. Megan's where she is right now. My question was more like, what advice did these people give you though? I mean, what was their recommendations for you to address your symptoms? I'm really curious. I'm asking you to name names, but I just
who do you mean? Like,
when you said you reached out to some people who have significant amount of influence in the keto carnivore diet and you told them what you were experiencing, what was their advice to you to remedy that?
So I wasn't seeking them for advice. We were just talking about how we were feeling. I wasn't going to these people for advice. I was just like, because I'm friends with these people.
So they didn't have any sort of like, they just said, oh, maybe I've been feeling the same way, but no one had answers.
You know what, Zane? I'll tell you something. Okay.
Proceed too much.
I was so bad in January, or like, I don't know, January, early spring. When I say bad, just in a mentally bad place. I will be fully transparent here. I was considering going on GLP-1, which I have been totally against for forever. But that's how unwell I knew I wasn't for me to even be considering that. With that being said, if anyone who is on GLP-1 right now, I'm not judging you. I have a lot of friends who are on it. But for me personally, like, it just didn't align with me. It doesn't align with my brand. It doesn't, I didn't feel good about it, just because I have been harmed by, big pharma in the past. And I didn't want anything to do with it. But I was thinking about it because I could not get the weight off at all. I was having even conversations with that in the background with other carnivores, but yeah. And some people ended up, deciding to go on it and are experiencing wonderful things, and I'm happy for them. I am happy for you if you are doing what works well for you and you feel great. Then I'm happy for you.
Okay.
I don't care how you
Okay.
got there, but whatever you're doing, if it works for you, I'm cheering you on.
Okay. So I guess I appreciate what you're saying. So you didn't really get anyone with applicable or actionable advice on how to reverse the symptoms you're feeling on keto or carnivore. Nobody was thinking about that you spoke to was thinking about coming off the diet to resolve them.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And yet I think I've been hearing many people dealing with this. I had elevated blood sugar with it, and with the stressed out TSH was too high and disrupted the sleep. And so I knew my stress hormones were really high, and some other things that were related to hormone imbalance personally. When I started my digging about 2.5 years ago, and I didn't have a whole lot of answers from within the community, what I'm seeing is more and more people talking about this, dealing with this, but I'm not hearing a lot of answers or a lot of remedies or even anyone addressing it other than to say from it within that community, you're doing it wrong. You're
Yeah.
either, and what I've heard people trying to discount my experience was, oh, but you were fasting too much. Oh, you weren't eating enough fat. You weren't fully keto. And I wasn't keto. I was just very low carb, a lot of fasting. But then I hear the same thing applied to other people where you were eating too much fat. You weren't eating enough fat,
Yeah.
not enough protein, too much. It was, you were working out too much. Oh, and it was a lot of discounting around these symptoms, but all the symptoms are pretty easily attributed to a low amount of glucose and low energy
Yeah.
and
And
high
then you
stress
got
hormones.
the other one that really bothered me was the sardine fast. Like, we have to go do a sardine fast for 72 hours to try and get weight off. I just, or I don't know. I didn't like that either. And I just like, first of all, it's super low calorie. And I almost think it's a slightly disordered, regardless of why people, regardless of what they say of why they're doing it.
Seems like an odd fix. Yeah. Seems like
That's
an
not
odd
healing, in
solution.
my opinion, but
No,
that's just my opinion.
it's a modified fast. This one,
Yeah.
this is a slightly modified fast. So yeah, I think that's where I've seen there's a lack of attention to this issue, which seems to be getting bigger. And many people don't say anything. They just move on and come off the diet and they go do something else. They don't say anything. We're seeing more and more people who, like you, have influence and who are known in the community and who work in the health space trying to help other people dealing with this and coming forward with, like, I'm having some symptoms here that I can't explain, but there's not a lot of answers from within the community. And I personally have a bit of an issue with that, because if you're going to lead people into something, if they have symptoms that could be related to it, the first response should not be denying their experience or telling them it's because you're doing it wrong, when it's pretty clear they've got a record of having done it for many years.
Yeah. And I will
Correctly.
say this,
Yeah,
many people have built their brands
sure.
from being carnivore. And there's money involved, right? When you're preaching a certain, diet
Strategy.
or,
Yeah.
and so I think that may play a role too, maybe not. But I think what upsets me the most, and I think you and I both agree on this, it's like, well, can you just cut the shit when it comes to carnivore harder? Like, I hate it. Like, or you're not doing it right. Like, this is coming from somebody who has done all of it. Okay. Messing around with all of the different ratios. If you feel like garbage, your hormones are tanking, your thyroid is tanking, you're losing your hair, maybe you should look at your freaking diet. And you know what? Like I said, I will fully admit, I think I was totally in denial because I had been living this way for so long. Then there was also this fear of reintroducing things because I was so terrified of going back to,
Right.
my disordered behaviors and out of control eating. But I eventually, like I said, enough was enough. And my body was screaming for help and nutrients and
Energy.
like, I'm not
It
gonna,
needed energy.
I needed energy. Yeah.
You needed energy. It's that simple. You needed energy. And there's a difference between what you eat and what you're able to turn into ATP, which is the energy that our body uses. Everything you eat is potential energy.
Yeah.
It's potentially turned into ATP, but it isn't, all of it is not. And how much of it becomes turned into ATP is is part of that
Yeah.
efficiency of our
And
system. And so you are losing potential energy to fat gain
yeah.
instead of actual energy. And that was being driven by, the stress hormones. So,
And I will
yeah.
say this, like if you're zero carb, I do not recommend going like bringing carbs in quickly. I think you should slowly bring them back in, which I have been doing. I mean, maybe you can
Yeah.
try it, you do you, but I will say this, like Zane, you've obviously you've kind of been my safety net, but just encouraging me, and it's
Appreciate that.
crazy to think that the amount of carbohydrates I'm eating right now, that I'm actually like leaning out and the weight is coming off and I'm feeling so much better. It's like, who would have ever thought?
It's counterintuitive when you've been in this place where we were
For
for
so
so
long.
long.
Yeah.
And it's counterintuitive to a lot of people who believe from the outside in. It just doesn't, because I think a lot of the way we've approached weight loss and improving metabolic health has been still at a level of addressing symptoms and not root cause. And I think as we get deeper and as more and more people understand what is at the root cause of insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction, and there can be more than one stimulus for it, more than one thing out of sync. But as we get to understand that better, we'll realize, chasing glucose and insulin, and as far as I understand it now, is really just still chasing symptoms.
Yeah.
And it's not the root cause. And there's no reason. We have thousands of years of history of no metabolic disease, yet everybody eating whatever food was available. And that was majority of the time, that was mostly carbohydrates,
Yeah.
and over the last 10,000 years.
And
And that's where, yeah.
I want to just bring on the topic of fiber, because I know that's another war in the space of, whether fiber is important or not. And I will say this, TMI, for somebody who struggled with IBS for a very, very long time, reintroducing what I have reintroduced, my bowel movements are the best they've ever been. And I do think fiber is extremely important because it helps with detoxification. And, there was a big carnivore who was literally made a reel bragging about pooping once a week. Like that's not okay. That's nothing to be bragging about. And that's terrible. That's so terrible. Like we need to be going to the bathroom every day for proper detoxing. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and I think there's a time when if you had some sort of IBS or an endotoxin, there could be a time of elimination in which you do not feed that to get rebalanced. You don't
Correct. And
feed
I
certain
think,
fibers. Yeah,
yeah. And I honestly think I healed my IBS 100% because,
right.
obviously a poor sluggish thyroid, that's not going to, that also
Right. Just
holds.
it doesn't take that long. It doesn't take that
Correct.
long to when you restrict those fibers to reset that microbiome. It shouldn't take, for most people. I don't want to tell people to, what to expect from that. But
Right.
compared to how long you were on keto or carnivore, it would not have taken that long to reset that biome and then be able to reintroduce those fibers once you've fixed the problem. But that is one of the benefits of a low carb or ketogenic diet, when you're eliminating those processed grains and some of those fibers that can add to that existing problem. Then that is a healing point, and probably where a lot of people feel that relief of the lack of bloating, better digestion, and that can impact insulin resistance, weight gain. The endotoxins in the gut and the imbalances in the gut can create all of the symptoms of insulin resistance, can create those things from the gut. And so that is a healing moment of limiting those, get things back in alignment, and then move forward and reintroduce more easily digestible or foods that don't irritate that.
Yeah.
That's certainly a process. And it's where a lot of people find the benefit, I think, from the ketogenic diet, as it calms down the gut, as long as they're not eating keto snacks all the time, right? They're eating real food, keto.
Yeah.
You can get some relief from that out of dysbiosis in the gut. So
Yeah.
there's not, I don't want to take anything away from that at all.
Yeah, right. Discredit. That's what the word I was looking for. I don't want to
Okay.
discredit keto and carnivore because there is
Mhm.
so many different healing properties. And you know what? I think during my traumatic brain injury, I think, producing ketones was very therapeutic for
Sure.
me. So there's a lot to be said there too. But in terms of very long term,
Yeah. No, I don't see a
I
benefit
don't
at
think
all,
so. Yeah.
honestly. No, it's a starvation state as far as the body's concerned. And most of my focus, I'm not a gut expert. I'm not brain injury expert by any stretch. My focus has been on metabolic health and helping people with metabolic disease. And I, that's where I would take, that's the kind of person I would take on, someone with some issues that I feel outside my scope. I'm at the point in my life where I refer them to someone who's better at that. But when it comes to metabolic health, my first go-to would at this point would be reducing fat, reducing stress, calming things, see if they're not overexercising, increasing carbohydrates. And that's where I am at this point. But I also want each person to have their own journey and figure that out and understand where they need to go and to learn it the way I did, because then don't take my word for it. Right? Look at the literature, experience it for yourself, walk it out so that you know it, not because I said it, because that's how some of us got here, is because we just believed what someone else told us and just kind of took their word for it and jumped in. Don't take my word for it, other than to have an open-minded conversation and to look deeper so that you feel like you understand it and you've experienced it and this is what's good for you now.
Yeah.
And so I have no way want to jump the shark on somebody's journey.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we are all our own biggest experiment.
Yeah.
And there's so much noise on social media. Like, I mean, I don't even really scroll anymore. I really don't. Just because it can get really noisy. So
Mhm.
I think it's so important to, listen to conversations and, do your own research. But like, just because somebody's doing one thing doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it. Go live it, whatever it is that you want to live, experiment, and
Right.
find what works for you. Cause we're all different and we're all on different journeys.
And we're healing slightly different
Correct.
variables. Like you had a lot of variables to deal with, and you weren't
Yeah.
even sure why
What was
some of yours
what?
coming in. Yeah, what was
Yeah.
what, and so that takes a little more. Uh,
Investigation.
it definitely does. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
don't want to just jump to the next thing.
Correct.
So that's amazing, Megan. Thank you for sharing that. That's just like such a quite a story, quite a journey you've been on for most of your life. It sounds like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah,
Oh, you know what,
yeah.
Zane? It gets better every year.
Well, yeah, I get it. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be at Hack Your Health. You're on a panel, I believe. Tell us about
Yes.
that.
Yes, I'm on the food addiction panel.
Awesome. Hack Your Health coming up here in just well, November, 14th, 15th, 16th. So,
What
um,
panel are you on? I know you're speaking too.
Men's Health panel.
Okay.
So that's the first time I've had one. So I get to be up there with Jay Campbell and Brad Kearns and Mike Muscle and actually moderate it. So
Oh, awesome.
I felt great about those guys joining me on the panel. They're all very experienced, and we're all a bit older. I mean, Mike's a young guy in his 40s, and Jay and I are in our mid 50s, and Jay's a 60-year-old track athlete, track champion. And we've been through it all. We've kind of experimented with a lot of things. So it's going to be fun. But I look forward to seeing you there
Yeah,
and
likewise.
hearing you share from the panel with what's transpired over the last year or so since the last time you were there and the last time I
Yeah.
saw you there. So I think this is going to be a great reflection on how you help people. I mean, it only adds to the tools in your toolbox and to your experience with people and empathy.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you and this conversation.
Thank you. Megan, tell people how they can reach you, where to look for you. Where's the best place to find information about you and how to reach out if they want any type of coaching?
Yeah, you can find me. I'm most active on Instagram at Meghann.Alice, Meghann.Alice. And I also have a podcast. I'm on Spotify and iTunes, and that is Meghann Unfiltered.
Ooh, unfiltered. Look
Unfiltered.
out. I wouldn't expect anything else, actually. Uh,
Yeah.
so you guys have a website people can reach out to you?
Yep. Brain, Body, and Beyond LLC.com.
BrainBodyandBeyondLC.com. Got it. We'll put those links in the show notes for people to find. Again, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in just a few weeks. And man, and hear more about where you are as you're walking this out, because you're really in a place of exploration. It's exciting.
Thank you, Zane. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. All right. Bye.
Bye.